Welcome to Into the Blue, a weekly look behind the scenes of the Tampa Bay Lightning with reporters Gabby, Shirley, and Ben Pierce.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Into the Blue. I'm Gabby Shirley with my co-host Ben Pierce. Ben, it looks like you're recording from home while I am recording from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Is that correct? Are you home?
That is correct. I'm at home. I will be going in this afternoon, so we'll make it to Amalie here shortly. But I figured, I had to try to compete with the wallpaper. I don't know what's up with you and these hotel wallpapers. Do you have like a request when you go to these cities? Like, I need the only room with the most rad wallpaper in the building. Like, what's going on here?
Because Ben knows my obsession with wallpaper. I probably talk about it way too much for a person that has no wallpaper in her house. But Ben, we stay in the fancy hotels. I benefit from that because the players are also in these hotels. And yeah, this room, it's pretty nice.
Did Clay get a picture yet?
No, not yet. I try not to be like too much. Like I try even with him to be like, yeah, I've been here before. But I walk in and deal. I'm like, ooh. Okay. All right. Focusing. We are recording this episode, Ben, about 12 hours after the Lightning lost to the Hurricanes. And while that loss was a tough one, it's exaggerated by the fact that the Lightning have not been overly thrilled with their play for the past 3 games. So, hitting you with a question early here. How does this team get back on track with 2 more games remaining in this 3-game road trip?
Well, I mean, we kind of just talked about it a little bit there before we hit the record button, but like you go back to that Boston game and it looked like Brandon Hagel had the game-tying goal and an incredible save there by Swayman to keep it out, and all of a sudden they score right after. Last night it's a 1-0 game. There's a turnover and they take advantage and score to make it 2-0, and Coop said the same thing. I think that second goal kind of just deflated us a little bit.
Right.
They're not out of these games. And I think that's the big thing is the final scores aren't what you want them to be, but it's not like they're losing 7-0 with 15 shots on goal. They're getting chances and they're just not burying. And for a team that's near the top of the league in goals per game, goals scored total, you like to think that luck's going to turn. I think it is kind of funny to see the rapid panic when the Lightning lose 2 games in a row. I think it's, in some ways, it's a testament to this group. They're fresh off an 8-game win streak, and people start to expect you to win every single game. It's just not going to happen over an 82-game season. But I will say, I think it's kind of the little things, the turnovers, the fact that you're getting to the neutral zone and you're clogging things up almost on your own. And Hetty said post-game yesterday in the audio, he said we're kind of forcing plays a little bit. And some of that is when you don't have a play, just put the puck deep. Go back and get it. Don't turn that puck over in the neutral zone. If you're in the defensive zone, don't try that fancy 3-line breakout pass. If you have to chip the puck out, you have to chip it out. And you don't always love that because then their team's coming back at you with speed, but it's better than trying to force that cross-ice pass that's picked off and all of a sudden they've got speed in your defensive zone and you don't have any back checkers, any forwards to help. It's just a matter of simplifying the game, and we've heard a couple of guys say that over the last couple of days. It really is, I think, just a matter of we're trying to be a little bit too fancy right now.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Ben. John Cooper, prior to the game against the Carolina Hurricanes, he always meets with the broadcasting team just for a little Q&A. Sometimes I am lucky enough to just stand off to the side and listen in, which I did last night on Tuesday. What day is it? Wednesday. And he said, and I believe it was shared in the broadcast as well, that sometimes after the trade deadline, when you acquire new players, lose a player or two, I thought it was interesting. He said the teams that are playing well, aka the Tampa Bay Lightning, they might drop off just a little bit, whether it's the players getting acclimated, whether it's they just take a breath now that the deadline, which can be stressful for a lot of guys, is over with. He mentioned that the 2 new players he thought have been like the Tampa Bay Lightning's best players, which perhaps they're coming in trying to prove something to John Cooper, whereas the other guys on the team just feel like comfortable. And then on the flip side, John Cooper said a team that perhaps is not playing well gets new guys and they have a surge right away. So I thought that was pretty interesting, right? It's not an excuse for the way this Tampa Bay Lightning team is playing. They're still in every game, but that just might be a little bit of insight coming from the head coach. And Ben, the 2 games coming up, the Philadelphia Flyers not having a great season. They've lost 5 in a row. So again, not that you can judge a team based on their exact record and their win or loss streak, but perhaps the Lightning will just have a little bit of an advantage because the Lightning are 3rd in their division right now. And then the Boston Bruins, that's who the Lightning play on Saturday. And Ben, I'm just wondering from that standpoint, you could argue that the Tampa Bay Lightning playing the Boston Bruins recently was the worst game of the season. Do you think that will be on their minds when they take on Boston again?
Absolutely it will. They know they weren't good enough in that game. And I think for a lot of fans too, they said like the one we're playing the Providence Bruins, we just lost to the AHL team. And it's like, listen, I know that the Bruins made a lot of moves. Obviously Carlo and Marchand, Trent Frederick, like this is a team that's made moves. But what people don't always think about is the talent on these teams that are selling these pieces, especially when they're leadership pieces like Marchand, Frederick, and Carlo that have been there for a while. There is so much pride in these NHL locker rooms about, okay, they're gone. What does this mean for me? How can I step up and kind of be that next leader and help this team get to the next phase of whatever's coming for this franchise? And so, yes, they made moves. Yes, they traded good players. But sometimes that almost motivates teams more than the teams that are adding, like the Tampa Bay Lightning, because it's we haven't had the season we want to, right. So we have to trade some of our best players. Now it's we're officially playing to prove that we deserve to be here. We want to be here. That can be a really motivating thing. And I think you have to give Boston some credit. Jeremy Swayman was incredible. The Bruins had a lot of players that I thought the other night I'm watching, and I'm like, I am really impressed with how the Boston Bruins have played tonight. Mm-hmm. You do have to give some credit the other way because the trade deadline is so tough on so many teams, and that doesn't matter if you're selling or buying. There is an adjustment period after, and it's just a matter of, okay, it's over. We have to find a way to move on, and it's some teams just do it faster than others. It's just part of the game, part of the process. Again, at the end of the day, these guys are human. They're human beings that play professional hockey.
The Lightning will bounce back. I have no doubt. Ben, some new news at this point in time on Wednesday when we are recording the podcast. It appears the Tampa Bay Lightning have recalled Cam Atkinson from the Syracuse Crunch. So he is back with the Bolts. We are in Philadelphia now, so I presume we may be seeing him in the morning skate on Thursday.
Yeah, and this is an NHL vet with hundreds and hundreds of NHL games. He's got 8 points in 37 games this season. And everybody in this room loves this guy. Like, he's one of those guys that I don't know if he's ever met somebody and they've walked away like, that guy stinks, right? Like, he's always smiling.
So friendly,
he's
so happy.
Always making jokes. We always talked about at the start of the year. Like, I don't know if I've ever walked into the Lightning locker room when Cam Atkinson's in there and he's not chirping at somebody, right? Like, it's constant. And he's such a good morale boost just to be around, Again, it's the human side of things. Like, you just love being around the guy.
Yep.
And I think that maybe right now, in the middle of a 2-game losing streak, which is ridiculous to see people call it that because it's 2 games. Chill out. But like, that could be the energy this team needs, to see a familiar face, to see somebody they love. And I think too, like, he has chipped in a little bit, he's scoring basically in every 4th game that he plays. So I think having that around, having that energy is never a bad thing. It's an NHL vet that's coming in. It's not like you're calling up a 20-year-old who could be seeing his first NHL action, and there's the pressure and the nerves and what do we do here? So it really can't hurt. I'm sure the guys are going to be excited to see him, and obviously, for anybody, you want to be in the NHL. So I'm sure Cam will come up energized and perhaps even more than usual. I'm sure everybody's excited to see him. Yes,
me included, Ben. He is, as you just said, like, just the nicest, always easy to talk to, so happy. When I think of Cam Atkinson, I know him on a little bit more of a deeper level, if you will. But when I think of him just off the cusp, you point a camera, a phone, something in that guy's direction, he's making a face, he's doing a dance move, like just something hilarious. He is just a time. And yeah, I'm really excited to see him.
Yeah, it's a boost. Again, it's tough because he is one of the guys that had to go down after the trade. But it's the NHL. You never know what happens, who's coming back up. And Brisebois said in his press conference, he said, like, Cam Atkinson will be back. Yeah. Those were his words. He said, we expect to see Cam Atkinson back here in Tampa Bay. And I know everybody's excited to see it happen.
All right. Our next topic, let's discuss the additions of the two newest members of this Tampa Bay Lightning team in Oliver Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde. Ben, 3 games in a Tampa Bay Lightning jersey. They've started all 3 games on a line together with Gonçalves, but those lines seem to be consistently changing. Against Boston, they changed because, again, it was potentially the Tampa Bay Lightning's worst game of the season, so John Cooper was trying different things. And then on Tuesday night against Carolina, the lines were all mixed up because the Lightning started with 11 forwards, and then Nikita Kucherov missed that third period. So these guys are still trying to find where exactly they fit. We've seen both of them on the power play. I mean, what stands out to you about what you have seen from these two 3 games into their stint with the Lightning?
Well, I'll tell you this much. Like, you score the game-winning goal. They combine to score the game winner in their first game. Not bad. Yanni in front of the net, he gets a piece of the puck, and it falls to Bjorkstrand, who scores what ends up being the game winner. Like, good luck beating that debut. They made an impact literally
right away,
immediately.
Yep.
And I think specifically for Yanni Gourde and fans in Tampa love this guy. They know him well. The thing that's really impressed me is the physical side. Like, I knew this guy was scrappy. I knew he liked to play in the corners. But watching him just throw the body around, it's like you watch him go into the corner and the puck leaves and you're watching the puck and you watch the other guy just go flying to the glass and you're almost like, whoa. And you're like, oh, well, there's Yanni again.
Yeah.
Like, but you need that, especially because so far he's played in that bottom 6, that third line, per se, role right now. It's such a good way to bring energy to a group. When you've got a guy that can contribute offensively, and I know he's missed some games this year with injury, but he's still very good offensively, and he brings that toughness, that tenacity. It's such a good value to have, and especially come playoffs. Like, this is a guy that scored big playoff goals for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and to have that familiarity is good. For Bjorkstrand, I said it last week on the pod, but this guy's a really good hockey player. Like, I don't know if fans quite understand just how good he can be. I mean, he played in Columbus, and sometimes that market, you don't get as much attention. And then he goes to Seattle, and he's coming off a nearly 50-point season. He's had 20 goals the last couple of years. He's nearing it again this year. It's a really good pickup because both of these guys, whenever we see the blender, and we know Coop likes to change things up, but these are both guys that can play on any of the top 3 lines. They've played with different styles of players, different types of players. They're really good ads because I think they're both kind of you hear the term jackknife all the time, right? Like, these guys, the Swiss Army knife, they can play and do whatever you need them to do.
Yeah, and I think that will be beneficial as we approach the playoffs here. So, Ben, that leads to the race in the Atlantic Division. As it stands right now, Wednesday, we will be releasing this podcast on Thursday. The Lightning are 3rd in the Atlantic, 3 points behind the Leafs. If the playoffs started today, they would face the Leafs. So, this race, I mean, thoughts? It is just consistently so close. Teams are up and down, back and forth, nonstop. It's wild.
Well, that's the weird part about this little skid, if you will, if you want to call it that, is watching everybody after the Lightning lose being like, okay, where's everybody else? How did everybody else do tonight, right? And you're at that point in the year. I mean, we're less than 20 games left in the regular season, which is crazy, but 3 points out of second place right now in the Atlantic against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and 5 points now away from Florida. But there's been times in the last couple of weeks where it's been 1 point, 2 points. And it seems to be that whenever one team loses, the other two lose. Whenever one wins, the other wins, right? Like, the points are staying really, really tight. Now, as crazy as all that is, the wild card race is even crazier. Like at this point, I think the 3 teams outside of the wild card spots, 2 points out, all of them have 68 points. Columbus has 70 in that second wild card spot. So it's going to be a race. And that's what we called it when we talked about it. It's exactly going to be that going in here. The Lightning still have that cushion. They're 5 points above Ottawa for that final spot in the Atlantic, but it is going to be intense all the way down to the final game of the regular season. I expect the Atlantic to stay tight. It's just going to be, you want that top spot. And obviously Florida went out and made those big moves to get Marchand and to get Seth Jones. The top spot in the Atlantic, you want it because those first couple rounds of the playoffs, it is going to be a fight to the death. Like there is going to be a battle both the first 2 rounds, and you never want to take a team for granted, but you definitely want to be the team that gets one of the wild card spots, gets to play against one of the wild card spots this year, because that playoff race looks intense.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I always find that at this point in the season, that's the word, excitement. But I mean, I don't know. This just feels a little bit different. Everything is so close. And yes, Ben, I'm looking at the standings like multiple times a day as if games are being played in the morning, but still.
Yeah, right. Hey, it's lunchtime. Let's go, do a little brush up. Where's everybody at?
Double check.
Right.
All right. We will move on to the Blue Line segment. As always, everyone, thank you for your questions. You are so great about leaving them for us on X, but of course, you can always call 813-301-6749. We will start with a question from Adam. Short and sweet. Kucherov? ? Update. Well, Adam, I wish we could tell you more, but let's summarize it a little bit. Tuesday night, game against Carolina, Nikita Kucherov missed the entire third period. After that game, John Cooper said he did not have an update on his status. But prior to that game, and I'm talking an hour or 2 before, John Cooper, again, in his meeting with the broadcast team, it was a national game, was asked about Nikita Kucherov leaving practice early on Friday. Ben, you and I saw it. He came to the bench, looked to be in a little bit of pain, went to the locker room. John Cooper said he was fine, but he's a bit under the weather. So that perhaps could be a reason for his early exit in that game on Tuesday. But let's back it up a little bit more because everyone was talking about it. Thursday in the game against Buffalo, he did not play in the final 7 minutes of that second period. So, again, I hate to totally speculate. I wish I had more of an answer for you, Adam. But it just seems like he's dealing with something, whether that's sickness, whether he's a little banged up, who isn't at this point in time. That is what I would tell you. Ben, anything to add?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Like you said, you don't want to speculate too much. The crazy part is we've seen people put out injured. We've seen people put out ill. So there are people out there guessing. But I think for the Lightning, you're at the point in the year, you're getting close to that final push like we talked about with the division, with the playoffs. Why push it, right? Like if the guy needs rest, whether it's an illness, whether it's an injury, just let him sit that third period. Let him have the extra time, and we'll see what happens here tomorrow. But my understanding is the Lightning aren't practicing today. Maybe you can clarify that.
Correct.
So that there is no practice Wednesday, so it is a complete off day for Kucherov. And I'm guessing last night when they made that call, they knew that ahead of time. Like, you know what? Let's just start that process early. So we'll see what happens Thursday. The good news is we haven't heard anything crazy about, that it might be a while. We'll see. We're waiting for test results, anything like that.
Yeah,
so,
none of that.
That is good news that there's none of that kind of circling around. But obviously the Lightning are a better team when they have their best player in the lineup, and we'll wait and see what happens.
100%. And yeah, we perhaps will get an update from John Cooper at the morning skate ahead of that game against the Flyers. But if there's no update, you can just probably assume that he'll be playing. So that would be good news as well. Okay, Ben, our next question from GW. Could you compare the feelings and energy in the locker room during the win streak versus the last few games? Is it a stark difference? Ben, you start because you've been in there following some losses as well.
Yeah, I don't really think so. And I think part of that is there's a lot of vets on this team. I don't think there's a panic. I don't sense any of that. But at the same time, like, you can sense a little bit of just, I wouldn't call it frustration, but a refocus. We talked about that practice the other day before they left for this road trip was incredibly focused, intense. It was rush after rush after rush. They're working on the breakout, the power play, penalty kill setups, D zone. Like, they were moving the entire skate.
Yeah.
And that was intentional. They were looking at this and saying, we need to really lock in. And we know we didn't like our game against Boston. We didn't love our game against Buffalo. And they said, like, we want to come out and play as hard as we can. And so that practice, we both thought, like, was a clear kind of sharpening of the sword a little bit. Like, we haven't brought it. We need to refocus. And obviously they started, like we said, very well last night against Carolina.
Yeah, they did.
And so it worked. You could tell that they really did kind of find a new level, maybe a new refocusing. It didn't translate for the full 60 minutes, like Coop said post-game, but they obviously know they have to be better. I don't sense a panic. I don't sense any worry or, oh my God, what's going on? It's just a matter of, we've got to find our game again. We know it's there. We've shown spurts of it. It's just a matter of how can we do that across 60 minutes. So, and they've been busy. They played so many games in, January and February. March is a little bit lighter, but
not much.
Right. It is. It's that time of the year. Every team is playing a lot of hockey. It's going to happen. I'm not freaked out. I don't think any of the guys are freaked out, like, oh my God, here we go. Are we sliding? Obviously, you got to talk to the guys post-game in these last couple of weeks as well. So, but in my mind, I don't think there's any real sense of panic here.
Ben, that was a lovely answer. I'm so glad that you took that first because, GW, as I have said in the past, and I am getting better, personally for me, I start off the scrums. I usually, because of that, right, I just kind of open it up to a general question about the game. What stood out, biggest takeaway, something just to get us going. I don't even always ask like really super specific things. It depends. But I always start out with something pretty general. However, for me internally, it's not about me, but this is just my take on it. Walking into the locker room after a win versus after a loss is night and day. No matter if we've won 8 in a row and it's our first loss or we've lost 6 in a row, like, I'm an absolute basket case, okay? Now, I try to fake it. I think I'm getting better, but these guys are human. As Ben mentioned, no one's panicking, no one's losing it. However, they're professional athletes. They want to win. I bet most of them would say they hate losing more than they love winning, like that type of mentality. So they're never happy after a loss. And then 5 minutes after they're off the ice, I'm coming in asking them why they lost in so many words. So I obviously notice a difference. Of course, there's a difference, but it's nothing that isn't normal, in my opinion. Right, Ben? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Moving on. Yeah. Plus minus segment? Who wants to start?
I'm going to go first.
With your plus. I think I know your minus, maybe, but you start us off with your plus.
Because, Gabby Shirley.
Okay. Oh, I know
your
what
boy
this is gonna be.
is back on the caffeine wagon. The doc said we are all clear, good to go, and so your favorite coffee addict is back in action, and I have missed my caffeine because obviously some long hours working in the NHL, and the coffee some mornings hits harder than others, and I am jacked after a little couple week hiatus here without my coffee. So that is my plus for sure. Is I underestimated how much or how hard that coffee would hit once I could drink it again. So I'm very happy to have my coffee back.
Ben, I am sure many people can relate to the love of coffee. However, in case someone missed the last episode or two, why were you on a coffee hiatus?
Well, because while I was also on a hiatus from coffee, I have also been handed a lifelong hiatus from my gallbladder. So
Gallbladder gone.
The gallbladder, she gone. After that was removed, they said no caffeine. Obviously, major procedure. We don't want to cause any craziness, so take a little break here. But we did get the all clear yesterday. So sad that the gallbladder is gone, but not really because that thing didn't work anyways, I guess. And happy that coffee's back. So I am very happy with my plus, and I will turn it to you for your plus.
Whew. My plus is being back in Philadelphia. I am from the Philadelphia area, and to specify, Ben, I didn't grow up in the city, but just the suburbs, just outside. So I'm home. It still feels like home. And I always try to see my family, which I will be doing following this podcast now that the Tampa Bay Lightning have an off day. We started recording around 10:30, give or take. I saw my best friend from high school this morning. I met her at 7:30 for a little stroll around the neighborhood. Wow. She lives downtown, so she's a great tour guide. And yeah, I always love traveling, but this city is probably at the top of my list just because it's home.
See, that's so good. We know you love home.
I do.
So is your friend a Flyers fan then? Wait a minute.
I would say she's less of a sports fan.
Okay, all right. So does that mean she's a Gabby Shirley fan? Is she cheering for the Lightning tomorrow?
For sure.
Okay,
but
good. All right, that's all that matters. That's
I could probably tell her, I have 10 seats for you and your best friends, on the glass for the game tomorrow. And she'd be like, I think I'm okay. I'm just guessing. I did not ask her. I do not have those seats, but that's my prediction.
Well, there we go. Well, at least she's a Gabby Shirley fan. That's all that really matters, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, my plus is being back in Philly. Ben, hit us with your minus. Do I know this one as well?
No, I am going to pass on that, although it was an insane week for me, as Gabby knows. But my minus is going to be, to all the fans, I love you. I know we both love you. But I kind of alluded to it earlier. My minus is going to be the slight overreaction to a couple of losses.
Who is he talking about? You going to name some names?
I just, the people that are like, Tampa Bay's got to figure it out. What a terrible trade deadline. And all of that stuff. Listen. Yeah, you always know it's going to be good when I use the listen word.
Listen.
But I've seen so many people try to argue that the Lightning didn't do enough at the trade deadline, or the guys they brought in haven't been difference makers. We just talked about they scored the game-winning goal in their first game. Yanni Gourde's throwing the body around. And I thought Coop made a really good point this week when asked about how do you think things are going with the new guys. He talked about David Savard, Blake Coleman, and Barclay Goodrow. And he said, listen, it wasn't seamless when those guys came, and they ended up helping us win a Stanley Cup. But he said, those first 10 games, and I believe he's talking about Savard in particular, it wasn't natural. And we had to really work on some system stuff because it was so different from where he was coming. But he ended up being a big part in why we won the Stanley Cup. And you have to remember, these guys are uprooting their lives, they're uprooting their families. And the systems part of it, the hockey, isn't just walk in and figure it out. It's hard. It isn't like youth hockey where you show up and it's, hey, if we have the puck, dump the puck in and go get it, right? There is a very scientific piece to the systems to, if you're F1, your job is this, unless they go D to D. Then your job changes completely. All of a sudden, you're not F1 anymore. And each team does it a little bit differently. And I know Coop has said that in the NHL, there's only so many different ways that teams typically do things. But it can be hard if you're in one team for 10 years and you're playing the same system over and over and over. To change mid-season, it's difficult, especially when everybody around you already knows the system and you're kind of the one guy trying to figure it out. That's hard. So the overreaction to the losses and more just the new guys in general, give them some time. They're going to figure it out. They're good hockey players. They scored the game-winning goal in game one. Just let them figure it out. The world is not ending. As of right now, the Lightning are in a playoff spot, and they're going to be just fine. So my minus is just let's all take a deep breath, and they're going to figure it out.
That was such a good rant, which is really what the minus is for. So
yeah, we're all good here. We're all good.
Job well done. I could also go on a rant here. My minus, Ben, I've talked to you about this. My minus is our national games.
Ooh,
When the
is this a
Tampa Bay
repeat
Lightning
minus?
do not play on FanDuel Sports Network because I lose some of my favorite job duties. Now, it happens. Really, it's probably good for the Tampa Bay Lightning to be on nationally televised broadcasts.
I thought you were going to say to not be with Gabby.
You stop that. No, never.
I was like, come on now. Okay, anyways, you're right. National games are good.
The broadcasters, also, Ben, are lovely. I've interacted with a few of them just over the course of the past 4 seasons now. To name one, Emily Kaplan, she had the first 2 games, and she has become a pretty good friend. Like, she, from the very beginning when I first met her, so friendly, so complimentary, like just a good person. I always enjoy seeing her. So yeah, it's really probably great for the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. For me, it's not so great because, like I said, I just lose the in-game interviews that you get to see on TV. I still do intermission interviews, but they go on the Jumbotron. So it's just a little bit different, like very similar, but still different. Oftentimes, the player that scores the game-winning goal or gets the hat trick or whatnot, that player goes to the national broadcast for that post-game interview. And I get the second guy, which again is fine. But Ben, I'm selfish. I'm just a selfish person. I want the guy. I want to bring him to you in bowl on the broadcasts. So yeah, the past 3 games, national games, they hurt. They really hurt.
They hurt.
But we're back against the Philadelphia Flyers. Also, I should add, with that being said, I feel like it's game 1 of the regular season. Like, I'm a little bit of a disaster because, like, it's the first game that's been on FanDuel since we acquired 2 new players. So are we, like, introducing them again? Like, what storylines are old? What storylines are new? What do we need to rehash? What's too far gone? Like, there's a lot of things to sort through before that game. So I have my work cut out for me.
Hey, well, that's exciting, though. I know you love getting to dig through all that stuff. But we should say, too, being that we're on the Lightning Audio Network, you know, I was getting ready to do my intermission hit the other day, and all of a sudden, I hear Gabby Shirley down by the room.
That is also a plus. That is
Coach
a plus.
Zettler. I was like, oh, look who found something to do.
When the games are national on the road, I always hop in and assist just a teeny bit on the radio broadcast, which is always a ton of fun. Unfortunately, Ben, I usually have a chance to do 3 interviews, both intermissions, post-game on a win. I only did 1 because the Lightning were losing. So
yeah, well, hey, all I'm saying is even when the games are national, you can't really tell because Gabby Shirley's all over the social media. She's still bringing the updates. She's on the audio broadcast. Like it doesn't end, man. She's all over it. So, you know, you always find a way, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. But we're back. FanDuel Sports Network, Thursday night. Lightning Flyers. It's going to be great.
Make sure you tune in. It'll be a good one.
All right. We're wrapping up here. We just got to finish with the Question Corner segment. Old question was the total points between both of our new players in Bjorkstrand and Gord. We've mentioned it a few times on this podcast. Bjorkstrand had the game-winning goal in his first game with the Lightning. Yanni Gord had the assist. 2 total points. Our winner is Kevin.
Atta way, Kev.
That a boy. You will be getting a signed puck. Who will be signing it? That's a surprise. Okay.
BD.
Ben, rules and regs, and or you want to read the next question? Whatever you got.
Hey, I am, like I said, we got the email flag now, so we're ready to rock with the rules and regs. After that absolutely botched performance last week.
Why do you think I make you do it? Because I'd botch it every time.
Because I was so excited to have it flagged, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, where's my email? That was a tough look. But
Classic.
Each Thursday morning during the 2024-2025 Tampa Bay Lightning regular season, as the Into the Blue podcast is released, we are giving you a chance to win an autographed puck from a Lightning player. During the show, we will pose a statistical question related to that subsequent week's upcoming games, and you will have until Sunday night of that week to get your guess in as to what the correct answer will be. You can respond to our post on X from the Bolts Radio account or email radio@tampabaylightning.com. We will pick one winner at random from all the correct entries. No purchase or payment is necessary, and restrictions will apply. You can visit tampabaylightning.com/intotheblue-rules for full rules, prize description, odds, and other info, and that is void where prohibited.
I like it. Our new question. Very simple. Hopefully we get another winner. 2 more games on this road trip, which fall in the time where you're allowed to guess. So we're jumping ahead to the game on Monday at Amalie Arena against, once again, the Philadelphia Flyers. How many goals does the Tampa Bay Lightning score? Do the Lightning score?
I think it's due.
Yeah, do. Yeah. Yeah. How many goals scored by the Tampa Bay Lightning on Monday against the Flyers? Drop your guesses.
Hey, big day, St. Patrick's Day. You want to try win a free puck? Luck might be on your side this week. Just saying. Just saying. Luck of the Irish. Look out.
Bringing in the luck element. I like it. Any final thoughts, Ben? Did we cover everything?
I think we're good. You know, it's happy St. Patrick's Day, and what a week. Hoping for a better one next week.
What a week. All right, I got to go see my family. So, peace.
Follow the Lightning Audio Network on social media @Bolts Radio. And don't forget to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode of Into the Blue.